we're getting ready to set up Ron's new bow, and he wanted to stay in that medium price range when it comes to sights. So we have a few out here that he was interested in. So most of these sights are going to go anywhere from about $149 to about $269, give or take. The first sight we're looking at is a Viper Diamondback sight. It's a 5-pin sight. A lot of the West Coast Western hunters like 5-pin sights. You can sight in 20 to 60 yards, and it gives you a very quick sight acquisition when you're trying to line up on a target that might be moving. This sight's great because it has, it's toolless, and it has a worm gear, so you can unlock it and you can turn the knob and it worm gears horizontally and vertically. It's a very nice sight, and it's something that would be really a good choice for most bow hunters. Another sight that we've sold a lot of is this React sight. React sight also has 5 pins. It's great for a Western-based bow hunter. The cool thing about this sight is simply this, is that you do a gross adjustability up and down, left and right to sight in your 20. And then this thing has a pattern in it to where you turn the knob on the top when you're sighting in, and it moves your 30, 40, 50, and 60-yard pin all at the same time. So this is a great sight for new archers that are a little leery about sighting in their bows and that want to do it very quickly and efficiently. Another great choice. Heading into some of the nice stuff, we have Spot Hog. This is a fast eddy sight. It's been one of our most popular sights. And this is new because this sight only has 2 pins. And it's on a roller. So you basically sight it in, and it comes with sight tapes that come actually with the sight. This is a great sight because for shooting targets or hunting, you can actually dope in every 5 yards, or actually every yard if you wanted to. So if you go to the archery range and it's 53 yards, you unlock it here and then rotate the knob, and the sight housing moves all the way up or down, and you can dope it into the exact yardage that you want to shoot. Same thing with hunting. If you laser a buck at 53 yards, you can crank your sight down to 53 and make the shot. The second pin on this isn't a movable pin. So when you sight in the top pin at 20, the second pin is static, so it doesn't move. So that pin, depending on your setup, could be 30, 33, 34 yards, depending on how fast your bow is. These sights are great. They also have second and third axis adjustability, and that's to level the bubble in the sight to make sure that you're level on a straight shot or an incline or a decline. Great sight. Last but not least, we have a black gold sight. This is something new for this year. This is a mountain light, so it's a very light sight, not a lot of hardware on it, but it's got all the bells and whistles. This is a 3-pin sight, so this is different than some of these 5-pin sights that I've been showing you. So you're going to sight this in 20, 30, and 40 yards, and then it has this dial, and you can simply unlock it and crank it down. That's going to move the head of the sight all the way down, so you can take your 40-yard pin and dope it down to 50, 60, 70, 80 yards anywhere you want to shoot it, which is great for shooting long-distance shots at the range. The other thing about this sight that's great is that it also has a second and third axis bubble adjustability, and they have a patent on the type of pins they use, so the pins are extremely bright, and the head that covers the pins is photochromatic. Photochromatic just means that the head of this gets lighter and darker depending how much UV rays are coming down onto this sight. So on a real bright day, this cylinder right here is going to become really dark purple. So it actually regulates the amount of light getting to the pin. So in low light, you have plenty of light. When it's really bright, the housing turns purple, and so the pins won't be too bright to actually look at. This is a great sight, and this is actually what Ron chose. He loved the idea that it didn't have 5 pins, because that gets a little confusing when you're in a hurry. So this 3-pin configuration is something that he really liked. The other thing he felt that was important is that it had a second and third axis sight leveling capability. That basically just means that when you have the sight head moves back and forth to level the bubble. That's second axis adjustability. Third axis means that the sight head moves or swings like a door back and forth, and that's going to be able to level your bubble when you're shooting downhill or uphill. Here in the West, we do a lot of mule deer hunting. We're shooting off rim rocks downhill a lot. So having that third axis and being able to level that bubble so your bubble is accurately on at any distance, whether you're shooting uphill or downhill or level, is super important to us. So we're going to take this sight, put it on his bow, and get him sighted in. So when it comes to archery equipment, a lot of it is organic. A lot of it is simply what feels most comfortable to you. So a lot of stuff, you simply just have to try it out before you buy it. So we're really big on letting you try out stabilizers, for instance. There's no way I could actually tell you what stabilizer is going to be the best match for your bow until you actually shoot a handful of them to really see what you're comfortable with. The same thing pertains to releases. Releases, there's so many great releases out there right now in many different configurations. So a lot of this comes down to, we're going to have Ron try out a handful of releases and just plainly see which one he feels comfortable with. So a few that we're going to try out today is that we're going to try out a B3 Alpha release, which is a caliper release, 2 calibers that pinch together. It's got a leather strap on it, which is really great, and it buckles, so there's no Velcro to make any noise or anything. Another one is going to be Scott Talon. This is a hook release. A lot of the newer higher end releases are actually going to a hook design, which kind of emulates what they're doing in the target archery world right now. So hook, sometimes for a lot of bow hunters, is quicker to get on the string. This also has a leather strap that's not Velcro, and it's also adjustable in the overall length. So all the releases we're going to show you today are going to have good solid leather straps, and they're going to be adjustable to the length of your hand, which is very important because you really want to make sure that the release you're shooting fits the length of your hand. We don't want the trigger too far forward, and we don't want the trigger too far back. So most archers are going to want to shoot their release in the second joint of their finger or on the first crease of their finger, not too far forward. So this is a great release for that, and it's a hook release. Next up that he's going to try is Spot Hogg Wise Guy purple. Awesome. So this thing here, you actually have to cock it. So you're actually going to throw the trigger forward every time you shoot, and that locks it. Then you're going to hook onto the string. The other thing here is the adjustability right here is basically on a post. So it's a stiff release to get in your hands. This is great because you know where the trigger is every time, but sometimes some of the guys think it gets in the way when you're wearing it, if you're loading an arrow or tying your boots, getting into a backpack. But it's a great release. It also has a BOA strap on it. This comes from like the snowboard industry and stuff. And you just turn this and the strap tightens up around your wrist, and it gives you even tension, 365 degrees, all the way around your wrist. Very cool release. Another release Ron's going to be trying out is this Stan Extinction 2. This is a nice release. Also a leather strap. The adjustability on it is pretty simple. There's just 2 screws right here and here. It's got seat belt webbing material, and you just simply slide it in and out. So the amount of adjustability is totally up to you, and you can get 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch adjustability on that, which is really quite cool. The other thing about this release is that it's a hook, and you can adjust the trigger tension and the trigger travel just like a target release. So this release tends to be a very crisp shooting, really nice release. One more release we're going to talk about too is that it's been very, very trendy for bow hunters to use 3-finger releases that are basically the same thing that a lot of the target guys are shooting. These releases are great. Most of my new archers don't start off with a release like this. They're a little tougher to learn how to master, and you actually have to hang on to the release. You got to make sure that you don't let go of this when you're at full draw, or it'll do major damage to your bow and your arrow rest. A lot of my guys go from a wrist release to a 3-finger release to help solve shooting form errors and problems. So sometimes later on down the road, after you shot a while, you can kind of graduate into something like this, but most guys don't start off with this because they're a little bit more technical. So we're going to get all these together and let Ron give them a shot. When it comes to choosing an arrow rest, there's basically 2 different camps. So the first guys who are hunting really want to do something that's simple without a lot of moving parts. So a whisker biscuit rest is a super great rest to shoot. This particular whisker biscuit is has adjustability to go horizontally and vertically, so we can move the head of this rest up and down and left and right to tune your bow and to get everything to shoot right down the middle. This rest is great because there's very few moving parts. We have 1 screw for horizontal, 1 screw for vertical, and then 1 screw that holds it into your bow. That is it. The other thing nice about this rest is that it's a full capture rest. So when your arrow goes in the middle of that, that's where it's going to stay. And you're not going to drop an arrow out of this rest if you're in a tree stand or anything. So that's a great rest without a lot of moving parts. From there, the second camp of guys, or my type A guys, just don't see that you can shoot very accurately shooting your arrow through all the bristles of a whisker biscuit all the time. So my Type A guys are looking for something that has 100% clearance. So they want to make sure that the arrow rest isn't even in play when the vanes are going through their bow. So when they're doing that, they're going to a drop away rest. This rest here is a QAD HDX, super popular rest. You're going to see these all over the United States. This rest here is a radius rest, like 99.9% of all these rests are, which simply means that the paddle right here is flat. You pull the bow, it comes up. When you shoot, it has to drop, and it needs to go from point A all the way to Z so your arrow clears. If that's anywhere in transition, and if it's not falling fast enough, the arrow can bump into the rest and you're going to lose some accuracy. So this is a great rest. It's adjustable horizontally and vertically. You can cock it, which most of my archers cock this every time they shoot it, or when you pull it, the lanyard will pull straight up and also cock it, okay? Most of my guys like to cock this every single time. So this is a great rest. It's got this top piece on it, which fully captures your arrow so nothing will actually fall out. So great rest, very popular rest in the US for guys shooting a drop away. Hamskea arrow rest does things a little different. This is a Hamskea Trinity arrow rest. This is a really nice rest. This has horizontal and vertical adjustability via worm gear, so you can just crank it and it moves horizontally and vertically. This rest here also works on a radius, but this is a limb-driven rest, which simply means this lanyard here goes all the way down to your lower limb. This is the way this is set up at the factory. You can do a bottom limb or a top limb drive system on this. Most of us do the lower limb. So when this is attached to your lower limb, it pulls the fork of the rest or the paddle down. When the bow is drawn, the limb recoils up and the rest comes up. When you shoot, the lower limb jumps straight down and it physically yanks this paddle out from underneath the arrow. So timing on this type of rest is much easier to get and tends to be very consistent. A lot of my guys shooting faster bows really enjoy shooting this rest, especially if they're shooting bows in that 350, 360, because of how fast this paddle gets pulled down by the lower limb. So that's an excellent rest too. One of the other rests we're going to show you, which most of you probably have never seen, is this little guy here. This is a Schaefer opposition rest. This is a medium-sized company out of the Midwest, built and designed by a bow hunter. This rest is all CNC milled. It has Teflon pylons on it, and this rest works differently than any other rest on the market. This rest actually opens and closes horizontally, like a curtain. So these pylons actually are opening and closing this way. It's not on a radius. So this rest here, since it is opening horizontally, tends to get out of the way faster than a radius rest. And so when you time this rest, you virtually never have to recheck the timing. So this is going to mean that you can set your bow up in December and shoot it all year to the following December, and you're still going to get really good arrow clearance on this rest without going back into the shop and having it redone every 6 months or so. These rests are super popular. This also has a full capture system to it. So you can pull down the lanyard and press, and it locks the forks together. That means you could stand on your head and shoot this. The arrow isn't going in anywhere. So it has full capture just like a whisker biscuit or just like the QAD. When the bow's at full draw, it disengages and it opens right up. So this is a great rest. We sell tons of them at the store. They've been very popular for the last few years. When it comes to stabilization or stabilizers for your bow, I have no idea. We've been doing this for almost 40 years, you guys, and the one thing I can tell you is the best stabilizer for your bow is the one that shoots and feels the best to you. So when it comes to stabilizers, go into your local pro shop, come into our shop, and try out everything we have on the wall. You're gonna find something that makes your bow feel really good, that knocks down the vibration and the kick out of it, or that makes your bow quieter, and it just makes the bow better shooting for you. A lot of you guys will ask, well, what exactly does a stabilizer do? It's simply this. It adds mass weight to the bow, and so it slows down your aiming oscillation. It also is weight off the center of the handle of the bow forward, so it helps your bow to go in a forward momentum with the arrow. And it also is a bit of a suppressor, so in many cases it'll make your bow a little quieter and help take some of the buzz and vibration out of your bow as well. The other thing that's been real trendy the last couple years are sidebar mounts. All that technology trickled down from the target industry. A lot of hunters now are putting sidebar mounts on their bow, and that's to offset the quiver and the sight being on the right-hand side of a bow if you're right-handed, and the stabilizer is going to hang off the left-hand side of your bow to help balance everything out. Some guys really like that extra weight. Other guys don't want to lug all that extra weight into the field if they're doing a lot of mountain hunting. But regardless of what you choose, try it before you buy it, and you'll get exactly what's right for your setup. Well, we're going to open up Pandora's box. We're going to talk a little bit about broadheads. Where to start? There's two basic types of broadheads out there. There's basically fixed-bladed broadheads that come from the manufacturer that you sharpen. So this is a 3-blade Montec broadhead, super nice broadhead. They come factory sharp. Okay, they're super durable because it's a one-piece broadhead, and when they dull down, you can physically hand sharpen them back up. This comes in two different versions. This comes in the M3, which is the newest version, which is non-vented. Some of the guys think that they're a little bit more quieter than the standard Montec like this. Both versions are great, and they're really popular. One of the new guys in town is Annihilator. It's a really small broadhead. Again, this is something that's factory sharpened, but you can resharpen it whenever they're dull, which is great. These are relatively short and they're relatively small in diameter. A lot of our guys are having great success with these broadheads flying pretty much like their field points without going through a lot of tuning gyrations, which is really great. Super durable broadhead. We've had great luck with those. Striker, which is again, it's a G5 product. This is one of the premier broadheads. It's a 3-blade broadhead as well. A lot of guys are shooting 100-grain broadheads right now. This is great because these blades are replaceable and they come razor sharp. When they dull down, you don't sharpen anything, you just replace the blades out. So they're surgically sharpened type blades, really scary sharp, which is a major plus for bow hunting. We'll talk a little bit about mechanicals. A real popular mechanical manufacturer is Grim Reaper, but they don't just make mechanical broadheads. So they also make a Hades broadhead, which is this broadhead here. It's a small stainless steel broadhead that has interchangeable blades. Great flight characteristics. A lot of us are having good luck. My wife has been shooting these the last couple years. She's getting complete pass-throughs through deer and hogs with 45 pounds. It's a really good broadhead. Her bow loves it. They shoot just like her field points. She was really lucky in that respect. Grim Reaper is really known for mechanical broadheads. Some guys love them, some guys hate them. Broadheads are always fun to talk about because your buddy will laugh at you because you don't shoot the same brand of bow that he does. But if you start talking about broadheads to bow hunters, they will want to take you out in the parking lot because you don't shoot the same broadhead that they're currently shooting because they know theirs is the best. Broadheads, it's simply this, guys. The best broadhead for you is the one that groups the best. That's it. I don't care what manufacturer it is. I don't care if it's a mechanical. I don't care if it's fixed. The best broadhead for you is the one you shoot the most accurately. The best broadhead for you is the one that you don't have to do endless hours of tuning to get to fly and work out of your bow. You can equate broadheads with like setting up a brand new rifle. You buy a brand new rifle and you think that you're going to shoot a 150 grain spear bullet out of it, and you've picked it out and you shoot it, and the gun doesn't group. The gun hates the bullet. And you might have to go to a Hornady, 147 grain Hornady bullet, and the group is 75% tighter. It's kind of the same thing with broadheads. What I always recommend our guys that are just trying to figure out what broadhead that they're going to want to get is that buy a 3-pack, try them out, see if they group. Don't buy 6 or 12 or 24 broadheads, especially if you don't know if they're going to fly or if they're going to group properly for you. So buy a 3-pack, try them out. If those don't group great, or if you have to do a lot of major tuning to get them to work, you might try another manufacturer, different diameter, or try a mechanical broadhead. So mechanical broadheads are very popular, but they're not for everyone, obviously. Grim Reaper makes great broadheads that are mechanical. They don't use any rubber bands or anything to keep them closed. It's a cam action broadhead, so you don't have to worry about them opening up, which is really popular. and one of the reasons why we sell so many of them. It's a real smart company because you can buy these in 1 3/8" cutting diameter all the way up to 2 inches cutting diameter, which is a huge broadhead. You just need to understand if you're shooting a lighter poundage bow, you want to gravitate towards the 1 3/8". And if you're shooting a heavy bow, then you can shoot a 2-incher or 1 3/4". And what happens is some of the mechanical broadheads don't penetrate quite as well as a fixed blade due to the fact that you're trying to put something with a 2-inch diameter through an animal, okay? So be smart, do the math when you're getting into mechanical broadheads. The upside to a mechanical broadhead is most of them fly just like a field point without any tuning at all. Again, try the broadhead to make sure that it flies just like your field points before you're really sure about that decision. But about 95% of my guys don't resight in for their mechanicals. Another mechanical to look at is Schwacker. They've been around for quite a few years. It's a great broadhead. They make a low poundage Schwacker broadhead. These are 2-blade broadheads, less surface area, so they tend to penetrate fairly well. They make several different versions, but one is actually marketed as a low poundage mechanical broadhead. So that's kind of broadheads from A to Z. Get what you're comfortable with. You could be a mechanical guy, you could be a fixed blade guy. Just get what groups best for your system. One of the new innovations for broadheads in the last couple years is that a lot of the companies, G5, Grim Reaper, are now doing practice broadheads, which are basically a little bit smaller diameter than the broadhead you're currently shooting, but they have the same flight characteristics of that broadhead. So instead of putting an 1 3/8" big hole in your broadhead target every time you shoot them, you can use a little smaller diameter so it doesn't chew up your target to see if they fly properly out of your bow. Grim Reaper has also been doing it the last couple years, and again, it's a really small, insignificant broadhead, which basically looks a lot like their standard mechanicals in the closed position. And these will tell you how well this is going to fly even before you dump a bunch of money into broadheads. So it's a brilliant idea, and also it doesn't wreck your broadhead targets near as quick because you're going from 1 3/16" cutting surface to 2 inches when you test them out. So it's a great idea from these companies, and it's just one more option for you bow hunters that are looking for the right broadhead. You're going to make me do this, right?
I bought this.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Coke, shameless Coke advertisement. Take 33. I can see I have to do it this way. So it really needs to be this way. Okay? And this can is not good for doing this because it should be this way and it's opposite of the logo. So So today we're going to talk a little bit about arrow rests. There's numerous arrow rests. You're grinning like a band.